What's up, guys? Level Up Sports Betting here. Jason Radowitz along with Winner Wire, Josh Weil here, giving you guys all the analysis for March Madness, the first round of the tournament, the most exciting part, the best 4 days of our life. March Madness, first round. We got all the analysis, all the action. I know Josh told me he has 26 pages of analysis. I've
Yeah.
got 30, so we've got plenty of analysis to go through and lots of information to give you guys for the tournament. So first off, we're going to start with the West region here. We're going to try to go as quick as possible. We'll try to give you as much information as possible. So we'll start with the West region, but we're going to try to take about 15 minutes combined per region so we can keep you guys here for about an hour.
Nice and silky smooth.
Just like that, exactly. So we'll start with the West region. I'll probably give a little bit of analysis here, and then Josh will chime in if he has anything more to let us know. If he sees anything that I don't see, he'll help out as well. But we're not going to kind of debate because then it would take 3 to 4 hours because we both can just go on for hours about why we like something. But the first matchup in the West, of course, Gonzaga playing Norfolk State or Appalachian State. We're not going to go deep into this game because we don't have a matchup just yet.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So we got no matchup here. We'll see Norfolk State play Appalachian State going on Thursday. In that matchup, I like Appalachian State to win that game. They looked really good in that Sun Belt conference, and they're in the much better conference in the first place. App State could have a little bit of fun offensively here and there, but they're not going to be able to stick around with Gonzaga. But we'll talk about that game once we know who Gonzaga is playing. But for now, we'll move on from there. We do know Gonzaga, of course. They have Jalen Suggs, Corey Kispert, Drew Timme. So they have a ton of guys that could be in the NBA next year. So, of course, they're going to probably destroy Norfolk State or Appalachian State. If it's Norfolk State, it's going to be a bigger win. Against App State might be a little bit smaller, but it's still going to be a big win nonetheless. But let's go on. Let's move forward.
Based on tempo. It's based on tempo, not on opponent.
Exactly. So let's move forward. Let's go to Oklahoma, Missouri. And we just got breaking news here for Oklahoma. It looks like Davion Harmon is not going to be playing for the first 2 games. If they get that far, of course, they have to play the 1 seed Gonzaga if they were to beat Missouri. I liked Oklahoma in this spot before knowing Harmon was out. Now I look at this again because Harmon, their second leading scorer, that's going to be rough. Missouri is a team. They've got a lot of old players, a lot of guys that have plenty of experience, and guys like Tillman, Drew Smith, Mark Smith, Xavier Pinson. All of these guys are old players, and they're all top scorers. The 4 top scorers on the team. But it does concern you a little bit. They went 8-8 in conference. They did beat Oregon. They beat Wichita State, which we'll see on Thursday as well. And also, obviously, beat Illinois. Illinois is the 1 seed. So, that's pretty crazy that they were able to do that. But then in conference play, they kind of struggled a bit. Oklahoma, they still have Reeves. And Reeves is great at making pump fakes. He gets to the line a ton as well. He's the guy. He's been taken over as point guard instead of Davion Harmon. Harmon was the point guard to start the season. Then it was Reeves took over, and then Reeves started actually being a lot better at point guard. So he kind of started to lead the team in points, rebounds, and assists. Oklahoma, they've had trouble defending the 3. They allow opponents to shoot 35.4% from long range. Missouri struggling to score from deep with 32% going down. So what do you think about this matchup? You want to go in it a little bit deeper? For me, I think I like Oklahoma -2.
I'm still on Oklahoma without Harmon. Honestly, I think that Elijah Harkless is an X factor for them. I know Harmon's been playing. Harmon kind of held it down when everyone was out with COVID, but I don't know. I feel like they're like the band of brothers. They're all together. They all have one goal. And I think the only thing impressive about Missouri is that they have 3 guys with the last name Smith.
Yep, and they got 2 brothers there. But I think the biggest thing for me
is they're a good team. They're a good team. It's just they have too many holes.
They gave Alabama a run for their money not too long ago during the SEC conference play. But Missouri, they're shooting 32% from 3, and they still shoot a solid amount of threes. And then you got Oklahoma, they're allowing 35.4% from three. So Missouri starts missing their shots, and that Oklahoma defense against the three, it's not as bad as it looks. And then, of course, Oklahoma does a solid job inside on defense. I think they get the job done there. And on the other hand, you have Oklahoma. They're not turning the ball over, especially with Reeves now being the point guard of the team. It's going to be a great matchup. It's going to obviously it's 8 versus 9. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a great matchup like we both acknowledged. But Oklahoma, they're not really fouling much. Missouri, fouling a ton. Oklahoma can get to the line a little bit more, and they're shooting 74.4% from the foul line. Missouri, 69.8% from the foul line. So if it gets to be a close game, Oklahoma has a little bit of an edge there as well. So I like Oklahoma in this matchup. So in your brackets, I would put Oklahoma if you're looking to tell me, and I'd also take that -2 as well for Oklahoma. Let's move on. Let's go to. You want to talk a little bit more?
I don't know. I was just saying. I think that there's a lot of guys on the Oklahoma bench can rebound offensively, and these replacements, there'll be an extra guy there, and Missouri's offensive rebound percentage is not very impressive. So I think that it's something that Oklahoma might act as much as like Harmon's important. It might be a little addition by subtraction for this specific matchup.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to move on from the Oklahoma versus Missouri. I think we both agree we like Oklahoma in this spot. Even without Harmon, that's going to stink. And we might hear a lot more information with a lot of other teams where they lose out on a player or two. So definitely, look at the news because that could happen in this.
See that line move too a little bit.
Yeah, so exactly. So definitely pay attention. But let's move on to that Creighton game. Creighton playing UC Santa Barbara here. And I think a lot of people like Santa Barbara here. And I do too. I think Santa Barbara can definitely pull off the upset. We watched Creighton in their final game against Georgetown. Not very impressive. We're used to seeing some really good offense out of Creighton, of course. Yeah, the choke right there. But we're used to seeing elite offense out of Creighton. They have plenty of knockdown shooters. The entire starting five averages double figures. They have plenty of offensive options. But Zagorowski may not be the best player on the court. It might be Ja'Cory McLaughlin.
Sal might even be better than him too.
Yeah, he's averaging 16 points a game, 5.3 assists, 1.6 steals, easily Santa Barbara's best player. But Santa Barbara, they're just a very talented team, and they're deep, right? They're good from 1 through 9. They have grad transfers. They have lots of skill. They play a 4-out system, and they're able to spread the floor with them. And they got a monster inside in Sal. So they got big inside. Yeah, so Sal's a monster. They got 4 guys outside that can all do really well on defense. They got a pack line defense. They're big. They're long. They're lengthy, like you just said. They're hard to score against. And Creighton, we talked about their offense. It struggled versus Georgetown, and they're heavy in terms of their 4s and 5s, and they rebound really well at Georgetown. Well, the same thing kind of goes for Santa Barbara here. I think the one thing that obviously could be a concern would be that they have a little inexperience. Like they have never been in this position before. But I like Santa Barbara here in this spot. You have any info there?
Yeah, I think that Sal, whatever, is the X factor of the entire game because, as you see, Georgetown, I've been riding for the last 2 weeks because they wanted it more. They wanted it so bad. They wanted to be here. And you got to see if this inexperience makes them maybe come out slow. Because for me personally, I have Creighton moving on, but the Santa Barbara +7's a virtual lock. I think it's really hard to picture this game not being 5 points one way or the other because Creighton just finds a way. They're one of those teams, but they might not find a way today, just like the Georgetown game, because there's a lot of film on how they were exposed. And if so, I keep tripping over that name. But anytime I see one player getting over 25% of rebounds when they're on the floor defensively, that's insane. Especially against a team that struggles to rebound like Creighton.
Yeah, exactly. Creighton, they're 24.8% offensive rebound percentage. That's 250 in the nation. Of course, UCSB, 24.5 offensive rebound percentage on the defensive end. They like to limit it, and they do a really great job there. Also, Creighton, like we talked about how great of a team they are in terms of scoring, 64.2% at the foul line. They become
garbage.
They're 36.7% from three, 56.3% inside, and then they just can't figure out how to score from the foul line, which is really interesting and weird.
They need their 7-footer to have a day. He has the offensive rating. He's the guy that if Creighton wins, everyone will learn his name. Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, and Creighton, they really don't get to the line too often, and UCSB won't probably send them there often as well. But you go down the UCSB list, their effective field goal percentage, 57th in the nation, 16.5% turnover percentage, 54th in the nation.
Very impressive.
Get to the foul line pretty well, 34.8 from three, 53.4 from two, 76.3% from the foul line. They are an actual upset contenders here against Creighton, and they can definitely move on further. But let's keep going. I don't want to keep you guys forever. So we'll move on to the Virginia versus Ohio game. And, of course, everyone loves Ohio because the guy that's named Jason Preston, he's an NBA player. He's a guy that can remind you a little bit of LaMelo Ball, has that kind of size, kind of does everything, points, rebounds, assists, and he's a big playmaker. And going up against Virginia, they had to forfeit their ACC semifinals game due to a positive test. They're not going to be flying in until Friday. It's going to be interesting for Virginia here. That's the big thing right now because really Virginia, they're a solid team. They've been playing well this season. Obviously, they're a 4 seed, but now you have that COVID and things kind of change. You got Ohio. They're coming off of a conference win, a tournament win, and they got the best player, and they're kind of peaking at the right time. They've got so much talent, not just Preston. I think that, like Preston, he's an elite point guard, and like when he has the balls in his hand, he's a big playmaker, and he gives them a chance against any team. But they're just terrific at passing the ball. Like they don't turn the ball over too often, and a lot of guys they just pass really well in this team, including Preston. They might struggle to rebound, and I think we saw that against I think it was Kent State earlier this season. They're going to struggle against physical rebounding teams. They're going to struggle versus those physical rebounding teams, and like a guy like Jay Huff, he's the perfect example as a physical rebounder.
I'm a huge fan
down there, and I think like if Ohio gets physical down there and they can't rebound, I think there's a reason to say, okay, yeah, Virginia is going to be able to actually win this game. I think it's a tough matchup for Ohio. I think I like Virginia in this matchup. What do you think?
Oh, you said Virginia? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. Jason Preston's an impressive player. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him, but I think that everyone's looking at him and they're not looking at the team's defense. Like they don't play defense and they don't get to the line enough against a very disciplined Tony Bennett defense. And Sam Hauser, right from Marquette, came in plugged, looks really good, getting a lot more rebounds now. I just think that the discipline's going to show, especially they just lost a couple years ago in a game, as you know, with your America East, you're praying for another one. But I think that Tony Bennett's not going to let that happen against a MAC team, with all due respect, because they are a good team. It's just they're allowing teams to shoot 51.1% effective field goal percentage, and they're allowing over 50% on 2-pointers. I just don't see it. I mean, I see a lot of people all over that spread. I'm hoping people hammer it. Let me get a spread like 6.5, 7. Let me get that all day, and I'll be on Virginia, and we'll have a nice day. Because the reality is, Virginia, they're 16th in the nation in defensive rebounding, and that's the one area where it's like Ohio can be beat if there's a physical rebounding team going up against them. And obviously, Virginia, they're very efficient with the basketball on offense, and while they're not the best offensive rebounding team, and I'm worried about their defensive rebounding. If they can limit Ohio to one possession and no second chances, then there's a serious chance where Virginia can get the job done. They can slow the pace down and suffocate them.
So I like Virginia in this matchup.
Double digits for me.
Ohio. I love Ohio. I bet on them plenty of times throughout the season. They're a great passing team. They're a great team in general, but they drew a really, really tough matchup against Virginia. So I'm going with Virginia here.
Me too.
And that's that. We can move on. USC, Wichita State, or Drake. Obviously, we don't have a matchup yet, so we won't talk about it just yet. But we do know that USC is a really talented defense down there in the middle. Obviously, you got the Mobley brothers. They're terrific. Of course, they don't shoot the foul shots well, and that could be where they do struggle. If there's a close game, foul shooting is definitely going to be a problem for them. But they're a terrific team. And, of course, Wichita State Drake, we'll have to see what happens there. For my analysis, I think I like Drake over Wichita State. So I think it'll be USC versus Drake. Obviously, it depends on if Hempel is good to go or not for Drake. But I think that the Missouri Valley doesn't get enough credit. I think that Drake really had a great season. Of course, they struggled with some injuries and whatnot throughout the season. But I think they're a terrific team. They're really well coached, and I think they're a team that's going to beat Wichita State. I think we'll see them versus USC, but we won't talk about it until we get that matchup first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this one a little bit yesterday. How I just think that USC is a good team, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that they'll get beat in the first round, but I see a lot of people all over them. I don't know. It seems like a mirage to me. I mean, they didn't lose. They win games, but I don't know. I'm looking at the numbers. Like they don't force enough turnovers, and they don't. I don't know. They just got to keep getting those offensive rebounds with their size. If they play small teams, they'll get very far. But if they play a team with a bunch of big guys, they might have some trouble. Yeah,
and that you're completely right there. We'll see who they're playing. I think it'll be Drake, but we'll wait to go over that game. Yeah. And of course, go to our Discord, link in the description box on YouTube. Go to that Discord, and we will give you analysis moving forward with these first 4 games, and we'll worry about those matchups when it comes out. So moving on, we got Kansas against Eastern Washington, and if you guys have been following me for most of the year, you'll know that I bet on Eastern Washington a ton. I love the Big Sky. I think Southern Utah and Eastern Washington are 2 terrific offenses, 2 great teams. Eastern Washington got the job done, and now they're dancing, and they completely deserve it. Now, we can talk about this forever. I love Kansas. I think Kansas has the chance to beat Gonzaga. The problem here is Kansas, they're not going to be playing with David McCormick, Jalen Wilson, and Tristan Enormo. They're not playing with all 3 of them due to COVID. Now, if they were to beat Eastern Washington and they were to play USC and beat USC without those players, then they might be able to get these guys back for when they need to play those other teams. Then it becomes a whole other scenario where, Kansas could easily, or not easily, but they could beat they could beat Gonzaga, they could beat Iowa, they could beat these teams if they're at full strength because they got a really good defense. They're really terrific on defense. 6th in the nation in KenPom. They're stopping inside, 45.9% inside, 32.5% from 3. They barely foul. Turnover percentage, they're getting 20% of turnovers. They're a great team, Kansas, but they're without their 2 big starters, and they're without a bench player that when he's playing, he plays big minutes. So now it's like, what do you do with Kansas? Can they get through Eastern Washington and then, for example, USC or Drake? Can they get through those teams and then they get their players back potentially? We don't even know, and then beat the other teams. So this is where COVID really kind of kills us here. Kansas is a great team, but can they withstand 3 of these players not playing for them?
I think that Agbaji is an amazing player. I think that he doesn't get enough love. I think that they got a pretty good draw in terms of size. That they stack up pretty well. Like I know that Tanner Groves 6'9", but like besides that, the other guys that they have, the reserve guys, they got Lightfoot 6'8". They got they got Grant Foster 6'7". I think that it's a little overhyped in terms of everyone being like, oh, COVID. Like, of course, I shouldn't say overhyped because of course it's hard. But you look at Eastern Washington doesn't get offensive rebounds as it is, so it's not something that's their strengths. None of their players get it. I mean, they have one guy who's 6'7" that gets it, but it's a disciplined team. Bill Self knows what he's doing. Is his name Bill Self? I always get his first name wrong.
Yeah, you're good.
Bill Self knows what he's doing. I think that this is a nice matchup for them. I mean, don't get me wrong. Eastern Washington's a good team, a good offense, but you need to beat Kansas. You need to be able to get extra possessions, and I don't think that happens.
Yeah. So the line here is 10.5 for Eastern Washington at plus 10.5, and the under would be 143.5 or the over. But I'm kind of giving more of a breakdown of the mid majors because I know a lot of you guys know more of the high major players and have seen these teams play. But a little breakdown on Eastern Washington. They're a unique team. If you break down the roster, they're all 4-year guys. There's no transfers, nothing. They're guys that start with the program and they're finishing with the program. And when you have vets that have played together for a long time, that's a really unique situation, and that really helps. They can shoot the three well. They got fantastic ball movement. Groves, like you said, he's a fantastic post player. He's a load in the post.
Yeah.
He's they have solid interior post play, and it just seems like Eastern Washington they just play the right roles and they play hard defensively. But like you said, when it comes down to it, their depth at the 5 spot. Like when Groves gets hurt or gets not hurt, but when he gets in
fouls, whatever, yeah,
troubles, you have to leave the game. They got to play smaller, so their lineup becomes a lot smaller, and that might not work against Kansas. Now, again, Kansas are without some of their big defensive players and shot blockers and rebounders like Jalen Wilson, McCormack. Like these guys are terrific players. Obviously, Wilson's a big defensive player that they're going to be missing. So this is interesting. I like Kansas too. If I were to the spread, I take Eastern Washington. I think Kansas wins outright. But this is tough. This is interesting territory for Kansas. They can definitely lose this game or lose the next game because they don't have their players. But of course, they do have Self, who's one of the top coaches in college basketball. They have a terrific defense, and I think they got the job done. But you're playing with fire here. You're playing with fire, taking Kansas any further at this point because they don't have their players. But
I also think that this is really the first year where Tanner Groves is playing big minutes, and he hasn't really performed against the good teams. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can take that step and bring him to the next round because they can't do it without him. Yeah.
And Groves had an incredible year, but let's not forget he was actually a backup. It was reserve last year, and and now he's the player of the year. When Davison was supposed to be, he was the preseason, and he was supposed to be the preseason guy. And then Davison obviously had a great season too, but it was Groves that did most of the damage here. Now let's move on to Oregon VCU because we are going a little bit slower than we expected. But you know what? It's no problem whatsoever. We will give you guys the best analysis that we can to help you guys cash your tickets and win your brackets. Of course, Oregon versus VCU. I know Josh is a big fan of Oregon.
Huge.
Because they're a veteran group. They're a veteran group. A lot of transfers, a lot of guys that have kind of
grind.
And like you said, they grind. They're just a really good team. The Pac-12, it's a tough conference to read. We just talked about USC, Oregon, Colorado. It's a tough conference to read. Of course, Oregon State ended up actually winning the Pac-12, so it's a weird conference. And VCU, they got a really great player in Bones Highland, and he's back from injury. He scored 19 points per game. He's terrific. Hassan Ward is a great shot blocker for VCU. So it's an interesting game. What's your look there?
I mean, when you start off by saying that that I'm a big Oregon guy, I don't like it to be that I'm going to be biased when I'm taking Oregon. It's just VCU turns the ball over 20.5% of the time, 264th in the nation, and Oregon feasts once they. The thing is, like, if you watch their games like I do, you could see the first half they could be down by 8-10. Once they find the little window into your game, they pounce on it and they beat you, and they're ruthless. Like they're all a bunch of guys over 100 in offensive rating for the majority of them. And I think they're too well rounded for this VCU team. They do have a really good defense, VCU, but I just think that they're not going to get enough rebounds. They're not going to be able to keep up with them. And Oregon's defense rates well with Oregon's offense rates well with VCU's defense. And so it's kind of a balanced matchup, but I think Oregon gets a couple turnovers, gets a couple stops, and I think they win. I think the spread's like 6-7. I think that's a throwaway. I don't think you bet on this game personally. I just think you put Oregon in your bracket.
Yeah, and VCU they're shooting under 33% from three. Oregon shooting 38%. And I know VCU defends the three a little bit better, but Oregon's just got a bunch of playmakers, a bunch of scorers. And when it comes to VCU, it's like once Highland came out of that game with 3 fouls, like AP said in the chat, yeah, like that kind of killed them when they lost Highland, and they were without him for a little bit in the season in the first place with an injury. Then they lose him for most of the first half in the game against the Bonaventure, and that stung. So I like Oregon here. I think the spread is 5.5 at this point, and I think Oregon they just have the better offense, and like you said, they should be able to get some steals, and that should be able to help them big time in this matchup and to get kind of more possessions. I also think they're better on the glass as well. So I like Oregon matchup against VCU. Let's go on to the final game.
X Factor, LJ Figueroa on the board.
Yeah, LJ Figueroa. You have Eugene Amaruri. They got a ton of transfers that are really playing really great basketball from the East Coast to the West Coast. So that's a ton of fun. But let's go to Iowa. I know I don't know. You still have the gear with you? He still has the gear. So Josh bet on Grand Canyon to win their conference in the final game, and because they won, he had to give some of his winnings off to Grand Canyon. And
that's what I do.
Money.
You give a little, you get a little.
So talk about Grand Canyon, Iowa. I know you have a good look at this one, and then I'll go on afterward.
It's a very hard game for Grand Canyon to win. Let me make that clear, even though I'm wearing the hat. So I support them, but in reality, it's a very disciplined defense against a very lethal offense. And it's a team that doesn't get enough turnovers against a team that takes care of the ball. That's both leaning towards Iowa, obviously. Well, it's not obvious. I have the numbers in front of me. Where the Grand Canyon team they're a very solid defense, but the numbers aren't gaudy because all they do, they take good shots. They take advantage of the other team's weakness. And because of that, I don't think that the spread's 15. I think that GCU covers that. I don't think it's like an easy, like where it's like 1 point at the end. I mean, honestly, Grand Canyon starts two centers, 7 foot 6'10". Like if Garza doesn't get off to a good start, those guys could really frustrate him. But I'm not saying that the 15's taking down the 2, but I'm saying that spread's nice.
Yeah. So like you said, this team has a lot of size. They can beat you inside or outside. Pick and rolls. They're terrific. Mid and guard with the Wichita State transfer. He's averaging a double-double this year. This team, they have a ton of energy on the team. They have the best front court in mid-major basketball, and they'll prove that against Iowa. They've just been a consistent team, and they play well off of each other. They play at extremely high level, and they play inside out instead of outside in, and it's kind of just old school basketball. And this entire team is kind of bought in. So teams will pack it in on them, and sometimes the problem is with Grand Canyon is their guards aren't consistent when it comes to the three.
Mm-hmm.
And when they pack it in and they stop inside, the guards may not be able to hit threes at a solid rate due to double teams inside. That is where things will sting for Grand Canyon. If they don't shoot the three very well, they're really not going to look great moving forward. So we're going slow today. So let me just go with the sleeper team in the West. So give me your sleeper team in the West right now.
My sleeper team in the West. I think Oregon can make a run because they kind of I don't want to say an easy run. It's just the thing is, if Kansas could handle USC, I think Oregon can handle Kansas if they don't have their big guys back. And I think that, but the key is seeing the guys. Like I don't think Oklahoma without Harmon can beat Gonzaga. I don't think they could beat them either way, but I'm just saying. Virginia's very slept on. I think that Virginia Gonzaga in the Sweet 16 is pretty much locked. Whatever happens with the other games, that's just me personally. But I'm going with Oregon as the sleeper, and I'm sure you're very surprised.
Yeah, no, I like Santa Barbara. I think they can get to the Sweet 16 in this region. So I like Santa Barbara. We already talked about it when we talked about it. So also just give me your winner in the West. We don't really need to talk about it. because we already kind of talked about our teams in the region. But who do you think's going to win in the West right now?
If Kansas is their guys, I would take them. But if not, Gonzaga. I don't know. Everyone says that those guys are all NBA players.
Yeah.
Being an NBA player doesn't make you an NBA All-Star. Being able to fill your role is a very valuable thing to a team. But you say not you personally, but people say these guys are they're in the NBA already, so you need to back them. Like these other teams are very good, and honestly, a team like the Santa Barbara, I don't think they could beat them, but I think they could make some noise and make the people start worrying. Like, oh wait, maybe this team isn't uncrackable. And then Kansas going from having to guard the most skilled player on the court, one of them, to getting to a gridlock game, it might just not be a good balance for them. So Kansas, if they're fully healthy.
Right. So if Kansas can get to the Sweet 16, then they could get their players back and potentially beat Gonzaga or Iowa or whatever, and they can definitely win that region. I like Gonzaga or Kansas as well, so those would be my two teams. Those would be my two teams there. So let's go on. We're going to go to the South region.
Hat for every region.
We're going to go to the South region. I hope you have a Hartford hat because we're talking about Baylor versus Hartford. And if you don't, I'll make sure you get one because you are a part of the neighborhood, as Coach Gallagher likes to say. But let's talk about Baylor versus Hartford. I don't really want to talk about it, so I'm just going to leave it up to you. And I don't want to be biased, so it's all up to you on this one. But we got to go a little bit faster here.
Yeah, basically, Hartford's going to try and slow the tempo. It's going to be a first half. Like, Baylor will be up 9 in the first half, and then they'll win the second half by 25. That's my opinion.
All right, there you go. So Baylor probably
don't need to go into the numbers because it's just big school versus little school.
Don't make me feel bad.
And I do need a Hartford. I said it like.
I got you. So now this is a much better matchup. North Carolina versus Wisconsin, 8 versus 9. We
were talking about this yesterday, actually.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit on our show last night. North Carolina versus Wisconsin. North Carolina being the best offensive rebounding team in the country. Their best offense comes when they miss shots. When they miss shots, they score because they get a ton of offensive rebounds and they have lots of depth in the 4 and 5. Wisconsin, they use a swing offense, so that helps them limit turnovers throughout the game. So give me your look here on Wisconsin versus North Carolina.
I just think that North Carolina has proven this year that they struggle against teams like this. So, and the numbers line up where I think that North Carolina is a good team, but I think Wisconsin's enough better to be able to hold off their strengths because you look at UNC on KenPom, every single offensive category is red except for the offensive rebounding, and that's only going to take you so far. It got you here, but I don't know. I don't see it because they're gonna get lulled to sleep. They're gonna force shots. They're young and they're the 20th least experienced team in the entire D1.
Yeah, and that's fair. UNC should dominate on the glass. Wisconsin, not very good offensive rebounding, so they're going to have to make their shots. They shoot 36% from 3. Of course, UNC, they don't defend the 3 too well, but they will defend inside. So if Wisconsin's a good shooting night, they're probably going to end up winning, although they don't get to the line too often. But on the other hand, you have UNC. They're not shooting the ball at all really well. They're just going to feast off of offensive rebounds. But they're going to turn the ball over a little bit more, although Wisconsin's not a big threat. So we'll see what happens. It's a close game. I like North Carolina. Josh likes Wisconsin. So it's a 2-point spread. It's a 1.5 spread. So it's close for a reason, and it could definitely go either way there. So again, I'm on North Carolina. Josh is on Wisconsin.
And for Jack in the comments, pretty much me and Matt pretty much have the same philosophies in most sports, so it works out pretty well. Like it's very rare that we're not on the same side. Like he's a little bigger on USC than me, but that's about it. But I could see where he's coming from on it.
Yeah. We're gonna move on to Villanova and Winthrop, and I think Josh and I are both looking at Winthrop.
Take this one away. You could rep both of us.
Yeah. So this is tough because, like, knocking Villanova out in the first round is just not normal, and it's just not good. But Colin Gillespie's out, number one, their point guard, and they're gonna have, like, Villanova's gonna have Justin Moore, but he's got a sprained ankle and he's not 100%. And Winthrop, they are the fastest team in probably the NCAA tournament. Maybe Alabama is up there as well. But Winthrop, the fastest team, can more really withstand all of that running against Winthrop. Winthrop, Villanova, they're not great defensively this year. 51.8% effective field goal percentage, 35.3% allowed a 3.2% from the 2.51%. Yeah, so Winthrop, they're a terrific offense. They're a terrific team. And just to give you guys a rundown of more of Winthrop, Chandler Vaudrin, he's recorded 3 triple doubles this season. He's a terrific player. They're also they're a unique team. They're hard to prepare for. And even guys like Wright at Villanova are going to have trouble figuring out Winthrop. They're extremely fast. They're very deep. They wear you down, and they have guys that don't really average high amount of minutes, so they can run that fast pace, and it doesn't matter because they've got a lot of guys that they can put in. They're experienced.
Just try to prepare for a team that's 11 deep.
Yeah, they're experienced. They're an old group, and they're, like you said, they're very deep. And they're also playing with a chip on their shoulder. They won the tournament last year, or their conference tournament, and they couldn't play it. Now they can play in it. They're back, and they looked really good this year. And like you said, they're 11 deep. They've got so many guys that can average double figures in minutes per game. They're very good at crashing the offensive glass. The whole team plays with a lot of confidence. They won't go into any game afraid, even against Villanova, a team that is usually up there playing really well every single season. But this year, they were without their best player, and they have another one of their better players who's injured, not playing 100%. So the only way to kind of beat them, if you're Villanova, is to limit their runs. Like, they'll go on, you snap of fingers, you go blink your eye, and they'll go on a 9-0 run. And it's like, whoa, what happened? So the only way to beat Winthrop is to stop their runs if you're Villanova. And I just don't think they can do that because they're just not playing solid enough defense this year. So yeah, Nova is down Gillespie, AP, and they're gonna be with Justin Moore, but Moore is not 100% healthy. So he's gonna play. I think that kind of hurts Villanova a little bit more. And Josh told me I can just keep on going. He's on Winthrop. Yeah. I'm on Winthrop.
We're on all the same.
So we're going to go on into that Purdue North Texas game.
I love this game.
I think you're on Purdue. You want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, I can keep it nice and simple. Just Purdue's they're 23rd on offense and defense, but that number was 9th before the conference tournament. I don't know. They're experienced. They're big. They're tall. Well, big and tall, like strong, top player in the nation. He dominates possession, and North Texas, all they got going for them is they have Ben Simmons' brother. I mean, I really don't think that. Like, all due respect to the team, like they're better at basketball than I am, but I just think that this is a really tough draw. I think that Purdue covers pretty much. I feel like every Purdue game is a 7-point spread in their favor, and they covered 9 out of 10 times. And I don't think North Texas stacks up to any of their competition.
Yeah, just a little bit on North Texas. Obviously, Javion Hamlet, really, really great player. He leads the country in floaters, and like Purdue is pretty big inside. Always, they're always huge inside. But he's a guy, Hamlet. He can drive and he can throw up a little floater before the center collapses on him and blocks him. Or of course, centers can block him, and things will be a little bit different. But they're playing great basketball. They're really hot right now. They won 4 straight to win the Conference USA tournament. They're gritty defensively, efficiently. If they're efficient offensively, this will be a lower possession game, like North Texas likes it. It's all kind of relies on Hamlet to do it all for this team, and they also lost 3 straight games before winning the conference tournament after winning 4 straight. So they're a very streaky team. They have great post play. Their guards can stretch the floor. They're a balanced team, but they're not very deep, and they already have injuries on their bench. So with that, I just think Purdue's a lot better of a team here.
Painter's the most underrated coach in the country.
Yeah, he's a hell of a coach. He's a great player, or great coach, and he's got some great players. And
I'm sure he was at one point.
Yeah, maybe. So we both like Purdue in that matchup. Let's move on to Texas Tech versus Utah State, and this is a matchup between some great coaches, some really great high-level players in Texas Tech and Utah State. Texas Tech, they're supposed to have really good defense. It wasn't nearly as good this year. They do play no middle defense, which forces opponents to go baseline. Then they got the early help outside the paint. And Utah State, they ranked offense and defense rebounding in top 20. So they can rebound for days. So do you have a look on this one?
Yeah, I think that I watched the Mountain West a lot because during the Caleb and Cody Martin time, I was a big Nevada guy, and I kind of rocked with Nevada. But even still, but this Utah State team, they go cold. It can go a whole half that they're scoring 15, 20 points. And I think X factor here is someone who's been getting better every single game in Kyler Edwards. I think he's going to put on a show from the 3-point line and bring his team to the next round.
Yeah, it's a great game. Um, Obviously, Utah State's going to dominate the boards here on the offensive rebounding and defensive rebounding, but and also Texas Tech. Let's not forget they haven't really defended the three very well. But Utah State, they don't take a high level amount of threes. They're 289th in 3-point attempts to field goal attempts, 289th. So if they're not going to take that many threes, it's not going to really affect them too often. And then Texas Tech, when it comes down to their 2-point defense, they're 21st in the nation. And that's where Utah State's going to be trying to score most of their points. Of course, again, they're going to be definitely getting offensive rebounds, but they're also going to turn the ball over a lot more. And Texas Tech's going to get the ball a ton in terms of steals. So, yeah, on the one hand, you have Utah State getting those rebounds, but on the other hand, you have Texas Tech getting stops inside the arc
and higher quality shots,
getting turnovers. So I like Texas Tech in this spot. It's going to be a great game, and I can definitely understand why people take Utah State, but it's going to be a great game for sure. Yeah.
What's up, Nicky Picks?
So there's that. We got that one. What's up, Nick? Let's go to Arkansas versus Colgate. I know a ton of people think this game is going to go heavy over with a lot of points. And I've seen people take Colgate for this matchup. What's your take here?
Nope. just nope. This Colgate team's played 15 games and 4 of them against the 280th ranked BU. It's a fluke. I don't know. They don't stack up. Arkansas is number 14 defense, and Colgate's an efficient offense. But I think that they played 15 games. I don't think any of these players could be on the court if they were at Arkansas. And I think Moses Moody's really good. Tate's good. Obviously, JD. I think that we had Colgate in the Discord, and they struggled 2 days in a row to cover against Boston University, who is 300th in defensive efficiency. I think that Arkansas is. I feel like a lot of people are going to be talking about Colgate, and I think that's going to fuel Arkansas even more to just not let up, to just let their defense do the talking. And also, I think that they don't turn the ball over. Colgate doesn't get turnovers, so all those extra possessions are going to be a really good thing for Arkansas.
So breaking down Colgate or Arkansas first and foremost, they're a team they're going to double team the best players at half court. The point guard, they're going to double team and force the worst player to make a play instead. And when it comes to mid majors, there's always like that worst player on a team.
Yeah.
And certainly Colgate has them, and they also have look. Colgate, they're going to run a run and gun offense. They're going to go. Arkansas is going to go too. There's going to be a lot of offense involved, but obviously Colgate, they're a well balanced squad. They got great guard play with Burns and Cummings, but like that's what's going to happen with Burns. Like Burns, they're going to get in his grill. They're going to double team at half court, and like Richardson's their glue guy. They got lots of depth from the bench. They have experience as well. And
they're used to having they're used to Burns having the ball, so they're not going to be comfortable when other people have to have the ball, and they're going to be screwed by that.
We've seen Burns score 20 points and a half before, and I just don't see that happening. He's a great jump shooter, can make plays in transition quickly, but and of course he can create for others as well. But they're going to struggle a little bit if they don't have a great shooting night, and by being that aggressive around the perimeter, I'm not sure they're going to have a great shooting night. So I like Arkansas in this matchup. I agree with you there.
And AP, I think that now just for AP, I think that if Arkansas scores 100, that's a problem because their other team's going to be on their ass. Like I think that the best game for them is in the high 70s, low 80s for themselves because that's the tempo they want to play at. They don't want to give a team that's 40% from 3 extra shots.
Right. So now we're on to Florida playing Virginia Tech, a 7-10 matchup here. This is an interesting one, an SEC matchup against the ACC. Both conferences had their better teams, but these
Yeah.
two weren't typically the better teams here. Of course, Florida lost Johnson early on the season, but they still stuck around and they did what they had to do. But this is going to be a close matchup. I think Florida they don't really rebound too well on the defensive end, but they do defend the three pretty well. I think both defenses have pretty much shown that they can do some work here. And I think the biggest thing is like Florida, they turn the ball over a ton, but Virginia Tech, they're not really a big threat when it comes to turnovers. So if Florida can limit the turnovers, I do think that Florida is probably the team that can win in this one. What do you think?
I'm on VTech, honestly.
Okay.
I think I just think that you look at what's it called? You look at Florida, they got that shot blocker in Castleton, but you look at Virginia Tech, they got 3 guys rated nationally in blocks. I think that both teams get blocked a lot, but I just think that Virginia Tech stacks up better. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah, that's fair. It's going to be obviously it's an interesting matchup. It's a matchup that
I'm putting a little sprinkle on overtime for this one.
Yeah, the spread is 0.5, right? So there's reason to be on both teams for sure, and definitely can't knock that one bit. Let's move on to Ohio State playing Oral Roberts. Right in this matchup, Ohio State playing Oral Roberts, the 2 versus the 15. In this matchup, Ohio State, they were really close to winning the Big Ten. They had a great run with E.J. Liddell and Dwayne Washington. So does Oral Roberts stand a chance, Josh?
No. I think that I saw on Joe Lunardi picked Oral Roberts to advance, but I think Ohio State's gonna make him look really stupid because they're the number one free throw team. They get 41% of their points from 3, but I just think they don't. There's a sleeping giant that just lost a game they should have had. I just think that Ohio State is a little flying. They're flying a little high, but I don't think this is the game they go out. I think that the Oral Roberts defense is horrific, and I think Ohio State can get in the high 90s.
Yeah, the Oral Roberts has to be one of the worst defenses in the March Madness tournament. They're on offense, they're going to be fine. They're not going to turn the ball over. Ohio State's not a threat when it comes to turnovers. But then again, they shoot 38.8% from 3, and they're 82.6% from the foul line. That's all great and all, but they're not going to get many offensive rebounds or defensive rebounds. They're not going to get much going there. And like you said, Oral Roberts has really struggled, especially defending the 3, and that's been really big for Ohio State, who shoot 36.5% from 3. Just a little bit tidbit there on Oral Roberts. Oral Roberts are going to space you out. They're really good. They play a 5-out motion, can shoot it from multiple positions. They put the ball in playmakers' hands, and they're very versatile. They run a lot of 2-man games. Pick and pops are what they do. They'll struggle when teams are physical down low, and a guy like Little Fidel will do just that. So Oral Roberts, they're going to lose badly when not rebounded badly. So for me, I like Ohio State in this matchup for sure. I agree with John.
I think that that if you're looking for a team to get to 100, I don't know if there's a line on that. This is one of the higher chances.
Yeah.
If true. Anyone.
Yeah. So
them and Gonzaga probably.
Let's go on with the sleeper from the South. Who's your sleeper in the South?
My sleeper in the South is, Wisconsin. I think they shouldn't really be considered. I don't know, actually, because I would love to see a Winthrop Wisconsin Sweet 16, but that would never happen. There's no way both teams would get there. I don't know. Is having Purdue in my Final Four make them a sleeper? It's tough because I'm looking at sleeper from a lot of different angles. Where I think Wisconsin could make a run. I think Purdue is gonna come out of this bracket personally.
Yeah, so my team is Winthrop. I think they'll be in the Sweet 16. So yeah, they're my team. We already talked about that. We don't
Purdue,
have
Winthrop in the next round.
Yeah, winner in the South. I think I got Ohio State for now. I haven't made a final decision, but I think I like Ohio State to win the South. What do you think?
I got Purdue over Arkansas.
There you have it. So he's got Purdue. I have Ohio State coming out of that bracket. Let's move on to the Midwest region. We're halfway through, and we've taken 50 minutes, so not too bad, not too
It's all
good
good.
either.
We got this.
But here we go. We're going to go Illinois versus Drexel. We don't really have to go too much in depth on this game. I'll give you a little bit of a breakdown on Drexel. They're really efficient on offense. They have a lot of depth and scorers that can make shots. They got a player named Winter, great decision maker with all conference point guard in the CAA. Makes decisions, runs everything well. Yeah, this team won't be underwhelmed with size. They got two undersized forwards, but they kind of play a little bit bigger. And they got old grad players, experience. They might struggle on the defensive end, especially against Illinois. The quick teams can get by them. They can drive by them. Of course, Drexel played a little bit better, got a little bit better in terms of their defense, but Illinois a little bit quick for Drexel. So I don't know if I add anything, but obviously I like Illinois to beat Drexel pretty well.
Yeah, I got Illinois on the spread. Also, 22.5 is low compared to what some of these other spreads are.
Yeah,
like I'm not saying that's the best bet, but it's a pretty good one for Illinois. They play both sides.
Yeah. So let's move on to Loyola Chicago, Georgia Tech. Loyola Chicago had a really great run in 2018 when they went to the Final Four. They're a terrific team. Porter Moser's a great coach. And this is a team that, maybe should have got more love. They're like top 10 in the net. They're like top 20 in KenPom, or they're top 10 in KenPom. So they didn't get any love, but they're a terrific team. Number one defense in KenPom. So I like Loyola Chicago here, knock off Georgia Tech, who just won the ACC tournament. Let's be real, the ACC was not nearly as good as we're used to seeing it this year. We had a couple teams that couldn't play in the ACC tournament, like Duke, like Virginia. So Georgia Tech kind of won. They deserved it, but they kind of won by default in a sense as well. They're a terrific team. They're a really good team. Don't get me wrong, but Georgia Tech, they're not going to rebound well. They're not going to get to the foul line often. And Loyola Chicago can definitely score on them because Georgia Tech does not play the best defense. They allow 36.6% from three on the season. Loyola Chicago, they don't shoot a ton of threes, but they're solid 35.7% from three, 58% inside. They're terrific inside. So, yeah, we're going with Loyola Chicago here. I think they destroy Georgia Tech. I think they get no love for I don't know. They're a terrific team. They deserve a lot more than that. What do you think about Loyola Chicago, Georgia Tech?
The hat's for Dan's comment before I move on. But it's not even like a bias thing. I think they're the best of the 15-16s. But I'll just read you what I wrote because I think it covers everything. I said it's a perfect matchup, the number one defense in the land against the grit and grind way that we call Georgia Tech. I think the people deserve overtime in this game, and we just might get it. It's pretty clear that Loyola Chicago is solid across the board on that side of the ball. However, the experienced Jose Alvarado's Yellow Jackets feature a star in the making, Moses Wright and Michael DeVoe, who both shoot over 40% from three. Both of these teams play extremely disciplined and don't foul, which will be a nice change from all the whistles we've seen this year. I expect Georgia Tech to outgrind Loyola Chicago, as they do have the 27th ranked offense, and in a game where there isn't much to give either way, I'm going with the team who has the best player and the veteran playmakers. Also, none of the Loyola Chicago players are shooting above 29% from three of the top five players in usage. So when it's time to hit the big shot, I don't think they got it.
And that is fair enough. So there you have it. We are on different sides when it comes to Loyola Chicago.
Georgia Tech money line too.
He's on Georgia Tech. I love Loyola, and I will be talking about them more as the show goes on. But next game, Tennessee versus Oregon State. Oregon State is only here because they won the Pac-12. Tennessee, they might not have Fulkerson for this game and maybe beyond. He had a beat-up eye and concussion. So Tennessee, they're one of the best defensive teams in the nation. But, yeah, they're without Fulkerson. That's going to hurt. Can they withstand punches until Fulkerson comes back? That's the main question. But Oregon State, they're not really effective offensively. 48.7% from the field, effective field goal percentage, 46.9% when it comes to twos, and they shoot more twos than threes. So I like Tennessee. I think they're going to get a lot of steals, even though Oregon State they've taken care of the ball. But Tennessee is another different kind of defense. And I think they'll win that battle. What do you think?
I think that it's really as simple as Oregon State's gonna struggle outside of the Pac-12. I think that the reason why they were able to win is because they've been playing these teams for years, and they know what to expect, and their players. I mean, they're one of the more experienced teams in the league, in the nation. So I think that's Cinderella. The clock strikes 12 early for them on this 12 seed.
So there you have it. We're both
Try to keep it simple when I can.
Yeah, fair enough. We got Oklahoma State playing Liberty now. The 4-13 matchup. I know Josh bet Liberty a ton of times throughout the season. I never bet Liberty once. So give us your take on Liberty and Oklahoma State and what you're looking at here.
Yeah, I'll give you another one of my breakdowns. I said this is a very favorable matchup for the Cowboys in my eyes, as you're not going to be able to outgun at Oklahoma State. They have multiple weapons at all three scoring levels, but get no love for their defense. Like people know they're good, but they get no love for it.
Yeah.
These two teams have the same exact offensive rating, but Oklahoma State's 80 teams better on defense and 22nd in the nation. Liberty can make it rain from beyond the arc, and they hit their free throws, and as a result, it's hard for me to lay the juice. But I'm expecting a little run towards the end to secure what could be a backdoor cover here. But I'm betting I'm going Oklahoma State first half because they're gonna be out hustling them. And to move on, I'm going Oklahoma State. But this is one that I'm predicting a backdoor cover because of all those threes.
Yeah, and Liberty, they're tied with 79 wins in the last 3 years. The most wins in the last 3 years. 79. They're tied with Gonzaga, so they know how to win. They're an experienced group, fantastic defense. They play pack line defense, great guards. They run really good motion offense, and we know they won't beat themselves. Darius McGee is an extremely explosive player. If he's double teamed, he'll make plays for others. They also have the defensive player of the year, and that's pretty impressive. But if McGee gets contained by Oklahoma State, Liberty will struggle. And he's 5'9" or whatever. And Oklahoma State, they're big guards, they're big players. Look at Cade Cunningham, for example, right? So I think Oklahoma State really kind of has the size to be able to stop Liberty. And the one area where Oklahoma State struggles, they struggle rebounding the ball on the defensive end. And Liberty, they're not really good at rebounding at all offensively.
Yeah.
And that's surprising because you expect them to get a lot of missed long threes, long rebounds from threes. So kind of surprising. Liberty, obviously, they shoot lights out from the floor. But maybe it won't do that against Oklahoma State, for example. I felt like Oklahoma State as well. Let's move on here. San Diego State playing Syracuse. This is an interesting matchup. Syracuse always seems to be an 11 seed, and they always seem to win. But San Diego State, they also have an intense pack line defense. They fill the gaps. They have active hands. They're active and all. And then you have Syracuse. They have Alan Griffin, who's been terrific throughout the entire season for Syracuse. So what's your take here on this game?
I think that San Diego State feels like they deserved a shot at the title last year, and I think they take it out on Syracuse. I think they're going to shoot very well against the zone also.
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't have Malachi Flynn anymore, and they probably could have went to the Final Four, if not won it all last year. That's a fair assessment. But they're still a great team. They still have Jordan Shackle. They still have some really good guard play. They still have, they still have solid defense. They're 11th in the nation in defense. So it's gonna be an interesting game for sure. But one thing, Syracuse, they don't rebound out of their zone, and that's where San Diego State can definitely capitalize here. So I still like the 6th seed. I know you guys are looking for an 11 seed to beat a 6 seed, but I don't see it.
It's gonna be hard to find this year.
I don't see it this year, and nothing you can do about it. You got to go with what your gut, and you're in the analytics, and that's what we're gonna do. But yeah, it's all good. Okay, so
100%.
Next, West Virginia playing Morehead State here. Another interesting matchup here. Morehead State, I know Josh has taken them a couple times throughout the year. They've got a terrific defense, and they're very interesting when it comes to blocking shots. And they got a freshman in Broom, who is a fantastic player. He's going to be a terrific player for that conference for a while. But give us a little bit of a take on what you think about West Virginia and Morehead State.
Yeah, Akbar, yes, we'll talk about it after. We're just gonna get through this. I think that the pace isn't gonna allow for West Virginia to cover that 12.5 that's out there, and their track record in the tournament. But the rate that Morehead State doesn't let me bet them either, because if they start turning the ball over a lot in the second half, it could become a 20-point game. So this is stay away with as Matty Ice says, 60-foot pole. But I think that West Virginia moves on. If you're watching the game, it'll look like it's with relative ease, but the score won't reflect how much more skilled West Virginia is.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is obviously Morehead State, 23% turnovers. West Virginia, 20.7% on the other end. They're going to get a lot of turnovers in this game. Of course, we know the West Virginia way, the pressure that they can do on defense, and they could press you, they can pick you up half court, they can do whatever, and they're going to definitely get in Morehead a little bit and force turnovers. The one thing Morehead can do, they'll get some rebounds, they'll get some offensive rebounds against West Virginia, but I think we'll get enough turnovers here for West Virginia, and offensively they're not the best, but again, they're going to get a ton of turnovers, more possessions, more chances. And obviously the more experienced team, and they've got some big wins throughout the season as well. So they're a much better group than Morehead State, and I think that the turnovers are going to be a big, big problem. Like, we can see Morehead State have like 20-plus turnovers in this game. So I like West Virginia in this matchup.
I wouldn't even watch it. It's going to be like gross, but West Virginia is going to do it.
Yeah. The next game we can talk about Rutgers against Clemson. Rutgers are also my team. I'm more of a Hartford guy, but I'm from New Jersey, so I hate being biased. So I'll just let Josh kind of take over on this game.
Yeah, I think if America doesn't know Miles Johnson's name, they will after this game. I think that Clemson gets blocked a lot, and they get stolen a lot. They get the ball stolen from them a lot, and this Rutgers defense is legit. The Clemson offense's best features their free throw shooting, but they're 305th in the nation, that they only get 15% of their points from the line. And this Rutgers team deserves to live another game. And with that being said, there's a reason why this 10 seed's a favorite. They're going to win.
I like it. So yeah, I agree with Rutgers, but I'm biased, so I'm just going to move on from there. We got the final game in this region, Midwest region, Houston playing Cleveland State. To give you guys a little bit on Cleveland State, they can really defend. They're a tough team. They got a ton of energy. They play a lot of players, and they win kind of ugly. Like they're not fun to watch, but they get the job done. This is a team that they utilize a ton of players. They keep offense out of rhythm. Many different defenses that they can play in the zone. They can do all these different kinds of zones, and they go back to man, and they'll jam on makes and misses on defense, and they'll do whatever. So they're just a team that can turn you over really quickly. But the team doesn't really shoot too well. They don't shoot well, and that could hurt them in this game. They probably won't be able to draw as many fouls as they usually do. Although Houston, they are a big foul team, but it's different when it's an AAC team playing a Horizon League team. So give me your look on there. I love Houston in this matchup, and you guys will listen to me talk about Houston for a long time throughout the season or the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State and Cleveland State both have a special place in my heart, because I did apply to go to school at both of them, and I got into both of them, but I ended up going to neither of them. But I think that this is not a matter of if Houston's going to win. I think that Houston has shown that even when they start off slow, that they could get back into it with that defense. But I don't like this spread at all, because I've seen too many times this year, like East Carolina against Houston, for example, where they just came out not respecting their opponent. It's very clear that the shot selection early in the game sometimes is not very good, and then they figure it out. But in their conference, that might hurt them. And I think this game might be the best thing for them, because I don't think they cover the spread, but I can't bet for or against them. But with that being said, I think that this is the type of thing that they'll see a 15 seed coming on them, and they're like, man, we really got to turn it on. and I think that it helps them make some noise.
Yeah.
But they win this game.
Cool. So yeah, there's Houston there. I love Houston here. Gene, quick, give me your sleeper team. You don't need to talk about it because we already talked about every team. But what's your sleeper team in this region?
I think the only team that has a shot to beat Illinois is San Diego State.
Fair. I see in this region, I like Loyola Chicago. I think they get to the Sweet 16. I think they upset Illinois in a Chicago-Illinois matchup, Loyola Chicago versus Illinois. I love that. If Tennessee can get by Oregon State and get Fulkerson back, I love Tennessee to make a little bit of a run and get to the Sweet 16 and potentially the Elite Eight. And I also think San Diego State can get to the Sweet 16, and I think Houston could go all the way. So that's my sleeper team there when it comes to the Midwest. Let's go to the winner of the Midwest. I just talked about it. I like Houston to go all the way in this region. Give me your team that you like to go all the way in this region.
We both have our champions from this region, but they're different teams. I got Illinois.
So you got Illinois. I got Illinois losing in the round of 32. So it just goes to show you how hard it is to be betting March Madness. Don't put too much money on it. Enjoy it. Do a bracket. Do whatever. But again, Vegas makes money off of this. So be careful. Anyway, let's go to
100%.
The East region here. Michigan, they're going to be playing. We will see. We don't know yet. Mount St. Mary's or Texas Southern. So we won't talk about this game just yet. We'll worry about it when we see Mount St. Mary's versus Texas Southern game. Of
Michigan
course,
money line.
We both love Michigan in this spot. But there's one game that I think you and I are both on opposite sides. LSU playing St. Bonaventure.
You're not going to mention your bias to start?
Yeah, I mean, I am a little bit of bias. It's not as much as Rutgers
I kid.
or Hartford, but LSU, they're just a bunch of guys that can just score through isolation. They're a great offense when it comes down to just having guys that can score. And even though St. Bonaventure is an incredible defense, even incredible defense can't stop isolation offense when it's that good. LSU is not going to do great defensive rebounding. They're going to struggle there for sure. But everything else kind of favors LSU here. LSU also does struggle a little bit inside when it comes to their defense. And obviously, St. Bonaventure, they're gonna shoot more and score more inside in the first place. So it does favor St. Bonaventure in that retrospect. But LSU, they don't turn the ball over. They turn the ball over less. They're going to be fine on the offensive glass. They shoot at the same amount of percentage, and they're so much better inside, 53% inside compared to St. Bonaventure at 49%. So I like LSU in this spot. Both teams shoot same from the foul line. It's an interesting game. It can go any way, really.
I got St. Bonaventure controlling the glass. I got Osuna. He's really one of the best rebounders in the entire country, and I think in this game, LSU takes a lot of shots. They score a lot of points, but I just think that St. Bonaventure is going to be able to control them defensively as much as you can control LSU defensively. But I think that it's enough because I think that their offense steps up a little bit because of the pace and because of the amount of shots that are going to be going both ways. And I think Bonaventure is going to be able to win this one.
There you have it. So we're both on different teams here, but it's a 8-9 game, and we project the Michigan will beat both of these teams. So only 1 point in your region. It's not the end of the world if you end up losing that one. Although I do think you have a better chance of beating Michigan in terms of the matchup, but that's a whole other story, and we'll worry about that when the time comes.
Yeah.
Let's go on to the Colorado-Georgetown game. I like Colorado here. I think Josh likes Georgetown here. So it's another game that we are on opposite sides on. For me, Colorado, they are 29th on defense and 17th on offense. So they're top 30 in both categories. Of course, they did play in the Pac-12. Is the Pac-12 good or is the Pac-12 not good? It's a great question. Nobody knows. We'll have to see during the tournament. But as you guys saw earlier, I did like USC. I did like Oregon to go into the Sweet 16. I'll think about it. I might change it up a little bit. But for now, Georgetown, they're turning the ball over a ton, 21.7% turnover percentage. Colorado should be able to get more turnovers. And we know Georgetown, they're going to try to shoot more inside and beat you inside with offensive rebounding. Well, Colorado, they defend inside 46.4% from two, and Georgetown 46.1% from two on offense. So I think they're going to struggle inside a little bit via the analytics. Georgetown won't force any turnovers. And I like Colorado. They're fantastic at the foul line, 82.2%. That's second in the nation. 36.7% from three, 50.4% inside. They're terrific on the offensive glass, and they can definitely keep Georgetown off of the offensive glass a little bit, at least just a little bit. I know Georgetown's terrific on the offensive glass, but Colorado can do a little bit of damage there, and they shoot at a higher effective field goal percentage. So, give me your thoughts here and why you like Georgetown. I like Colorado.
Yeah, I think that this is another one of those teams that's been carried by their free throws, but they don't draw fouls enough. They're 216th in the nation in drawing fouls, even though they hit them at an 82% clip. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Georgetown's got to hit their threes to win this game, but I think that the way they played against Creighton is clear that they're able to do what they need to do to win, and they're good at sensing the games. And like you were saying about the Pac-12 before, I think that Oregon's good. I think that UCLA is good. UCLA is one of those solid teams, but whatever. They don't have a matchup yet, so we won't talk about them. And I think that USC, Oregon, and UCLA are the Pac-12 teams to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if Colorado pulled away, but I really think that this is Georgetown's game, and it kind of bothers me that in the next round Georgetown would have Florida State, because I think that Georgetown would have a better chance against Michigan than they would against Florida State, and that doesn't mean that Florida State's better than Michigan, but it means that I think that they match up better.
Yeah. And so let's go right into Florida State, UNC Greensboro. Of course, I was on Colorado and Josh was on Georgetown, looking at the upset there. Good luck there. I wish you no luck, actually, because I want Colorado. But
I hope if you get everything that we're on the other sides, that you win the $1 billion that Buffett offers or whatever.
Fair enough.
Because if those are the only ones you get right, then I'm going to be upset.
Florida State, I think you and I are both on Florida State here. Yeah, they might struggle a little bit with turnovers. UNCG is really good with turnovers. Really good with turnovers. They're getting 21%, and Florida State's turning the ball over 20.2%. And Florida State's not too great defensively when it comes to rebounding, and UNCG is solid offensive rebounding, but they're not getting to the line at all. They're just shooting 30% from three, UNCG is, and they're shooting a high percentage from three as well. And when they try to shoot inside a little bit, they're going to struggle against Florida State, who's 11th in the nation in 2-point field goal percentage on the defensive end. And then Florida State, they shoot 39% from three. They dominate the offensive glass better than UNCG does. They have a much higher effective field goal percentage, and they score inside 52.1%, 73.8% from the foul line. So outside of defensive rebounding and potential turnovers, but maybe not turnover as much against like UNCG, Florida State should have it, pretty well here. So what do you think about this one?
I agree with you. I think that Scotty Barnes is a really good player. I think that this is Isaiah Miller's chance to prove that he's a legitimate NBA prospect, and I don't know if he does that because this Florida State team is going to enjoy. They're gonna be licking their chops at him because it's not fully a one-man show, but they can't win without Isaiah Miller. Whereas like if you took one of the Florida State players away, they could win the game. But UNCG is 332nd in fouling, and if Florida State brings the intensity of the last two games, I think this game has a chance to be a 20-point win.
Yeah, and just a little bit on UNC Greensboro for those who haven't really watched them much. Miller is like Josh said, is the guy, and they'll generate their offense through their defense. Florida State has struggled to hold on to the ball, so there is potential that if UNC Greensboro can get turnovers on defense, that they can upset Florida State. I'm saying it right now. They can do it. But sometimes they kind of just get on scoring droughts and they kind of just rely on Miller. And sometimes Miller isn't, on his best shooting night either. And they don't obviously shoot from three. That's not their strong suit. So I like Bar State here, but I would not be surprised if UNC Greensboro, if they're getting turnovers, they make that, turn that into offense, and they win the game. I would not be surprised. I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen.
With all due respect, I would be very surprised.
Well, so there you have it. We'll see. But hopefully it doesn't happen. And we're hoping for both BYU, Michigan State, UCLA. We don't know who's going to be playing the matchup, so we'll just move on from there. We'll worry about it. But I do think they're a really great offense. I think they can go pretty deep, and I think it's a bad matchup for Michigan State or UCLA. But
yeah,
that's
what I was going to say.
Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Cool. We got 3 more games to go through here in this region, and for the final 3 games. So Texas playing ACU. You know where I am, so I'll let you talk about it first, and then I'll talk about it afterward. But
I think Texas is too big for Abilene Christian. I think that they're really good at preventing the 3, and I think they might be the shortest team in the tournament. Let me see. There was something. Yeah, they're the smallest team in the tournament. I knew that. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They're the smallest team in the tournament, and I think that it's gonna be a good chance for Jericho Sims to have a game. Make sure that nobody forgot him when Jackson Hayes came to town. And Texas is solid across the board, but I would take ACU to cover the 9.
Yeah, and for me, I'm taking for my bracket, I'm taking ACU to win outright against Texas. I think that's really one of the bigger upsets that I'm going to be having in my bracket. Now, I don't recommend making too many upsets in the first round of the bracket. Different studies show that when you do that, you're going to actually end up being worse off in the end compared to just taking all the favorites. But definitely get some out there. And I like ACU here because Texas are not really careful with the ball. They turn the ball over 21% of the time. And ACU, they're a sneaky team. They lead the nation in steals. And, of course, they're going to, foul. They're going to foul, I know. But they stop you at 3, 29.1%, 46.3% from 2. They're just a terrific defense. And on offense, they're shooting 37.7% from 3, 50.8% from 2. Of course, not that great of a foul shooting team, but Texas will put them to the line a little bit as well. So you'll still get some points out of there as well. Just a breakdown on ACU. They're a really aggressive team, and they just really play a solid defense. And if they're going to win this game, it's going to be because of their toughness on defense and their forced turnovers. The team is balanced. They got some big forwards who, and they also have a point guard that does really well. Big energy team. They dictate the way they play when it comes to Daniels being the point guard for the team. Of course, they do lack some consistency when shooting the 3, and that could hurt when it comes to their potential upset. But I do think, look, they're still 37.7% from 3 on the season. So if that's lacking consistency, that's pretty good. So I like ACU to upset Texas here. It's one of my bigger upsets on the day. In the tournament. So I like ACU to upset Texas. We'll see what happens. I don't think they move on past this round if they do win, but I like the upset. I think that they can definitely pull it off.
Yeah, and I also have to mention that ACU is another team that I bombed that I'm waiting on my hat for.
I dig it. We just gotta get you a Hartford hat. But moving on to UConn, another Connecticut team.
You see the comment?
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it go.
Yeah, so we got UConn playing Maryland here. This is an interesting matchup as well. Obviously, when UConn got back book night, it was a totally different team, much better offensively. They scored a ton more. What do you think about this one? We got UConn. They're 25th on defense, 24th on offense. Maryland 27th defense, 42nd offense. So it looks like Connecticut a little bit better here. Maryland does not get offensive rebounds, so they're not getting much second chance opportunities here. And Connecticut is insane on the offensive glass. They're very good on the offensive glass. So they're not nearly as good on the defensive glass, but they still get the job done and should against Maryland. I like UConn in this matchup. I think if they can, stop Maryland from shooting at a solid rate, I think they'll be fine. And I think UConn will probably end up getting more turnovers and turning the ball over less. So I like UConn in this matchup. I think Maryland, they're going to rely on the three too much. And UConn, they're stopping the three 31.6% of the time. If they can just get some rebounds, they'll be fine. And again, Maryland, one of the worst offensive rebounding teams in March Madness. I think UConn will be able to get some rebounds and they'll be fine. So give me your take on the UConn versus Maryland matchup.
I'm pretty much on exactly the same thing, but I think that one player that everyone's going to learn about is Adama Sanogo. I watched him in the Creighton game, and I think he's an absolute stud. And I think just what you were saying with the rebounds, I think he's going to have an absolute day on this Maryland team. And I think that this is the game that James Bouknight, everyone's going to be watching draft day, that will get him into the lottery.
That's fair, and he could have a great game or two in the tournament, and that will change a lot for UConn, and they can certainly do that. They'd have to play Alabama or Iona if they won that game, though. So just to give a little bit of breakdown on Iona, obviously they got Pitino as the coach, but this is a team, they won't beat themselves. They have a really good player in Ross. Lots of stagger. They have a lot of rescreens, get the ball to Ross plenty of times. They're not a great offense when Asante Gist isn't sharing the basketball, and he's more of a scorer, not really a passer, which could hurt them a little bit because he's more of a scoring guard, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
But on the glass, Iona destroyed in the MAAC during the tournament. They destroyed, and that's what won them games.
Yeah, but what was the last half of that sentence?
In the MAC tournament? Yeah, exactly. I see what you're saying. So, yeah, they could hold them down, and they could hold down in the half court, and they can limit, on defensive end, they're good. But if teams are able to attack them in transition against Iona, they're going to struggle. And what does Alabama do? They dominate in transition offense. Alabama will destroy them in transition, and that's what keeps Iona off guard. So I love Alabama in this spot. I know a lot of people might say, "Oh, Iona has a chance. They might do this, might do that," because of Pitino. Alabama can destroy them in transition, and that should be all she said.
I think that Rick Pitino got 3 points on this spread because I think this is absolutely a chance for Alabama to win by 30 points, and I think that there's gonna be a couple like nasty dunks off of like steals in the passing lanes, and I think that it's a bottom half defense against the second bottom half offense against the second defense. I just think Iona's not it.
Yep.
They're in my championship game, by the way, in case you want to know who wins it for me.
There you go. All right, so let's talk about your sleeper in the East. Just give me one team in the East that you think is a sleeper. It might be Georgetown. I think you like them a ton, but let's hear from you. What's your team, sleeper team?
Yeah, I got Georgetown to win a game, but I got BYU in the Sweet 16 over Texas. Yep. I think that those turnovers that you were talking about won't do them in here, but I think the next round, BYU gets past those brand names that people are so shocked that they're in the play-in game. But if you look at their resume, they deserve to be there.
Yeah, so that's the thing with BYU. 6 seeds normally don't really go too far in the NCAA tournament. It's just a thing. It's a trend. I don't listen to trends like that, but it's a thing. It's a trend. And sometimes these 11 seeds knock them off. But I love BYU. I think they're a terrific team. They've only lost 3 games outside of losing to Gonzaga. They're a terrific offense. They have some size with plenty of their players. So, yeah, I like BYU too. I think that they can go all the way to the Elite Eight. Right now, that's where I have them. Of course, nothing's official until we look at it.
This is the year of the 6 seed.
Yeah, I'm hoping. That's what I'm really hoping.
I got 2 of them in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. And so you kind of just already said it. So just name your winner in the East.
Alabama.
He's got Alabama coming out of the East. And I think that right now, currently I have BYU coming out of the East as the champion.
I like that.
BYU.
The winner of that game, I agree, but I think Alabama will be that winner, so we'll see.
Let's not forget every single championship or every single Final Four has had a team 9 of the last 10 seasons have had a team at the 5 seed or worse. So might want to have one of your teams being a 4 or worst in there. You might want to have a couple 1 seeds and another seed in there as well. So definitely look at that. Obviously, you don't really want to look at those trends, but if it works out that way, it works out that way. So I'm going to give out my projected champion for me early on. Look, we still have till Friday. If I say something and I change it, I change it. You can't kill me for it. But
that's a disclaimer in case they lose in the first round.
Exactly. Well, it's got so if they lose on Friday or Saturday, I'm done anyway. But my team to win the championship, it's Houston. I love Houston. They're my team to win it all. It's a tough region there as well, but I love Houston. They got great guard play. They got a great coach. They are terrific defensively. They shoot the 3 extremely well. They can shoot foul shots. The one thing that concerns me, they do foul a ton, but I'd rather them play defense than not play any defense at all. So give me Houston going to the finals. You can also put some money. I put a unit down on Houston at plus 2,000 to win the national championship. So if you like Houston and you want to roll with me, go with Houston. Do what you got to do, because all the coaches that win the national championship, they're guys that have over 500 wins. They've coached over 20 years, and they have a winning percentage of over 64%. Kelvin Sampson has done it all. They got guard play. They've got terrific three-point shooting. They defend. They've got it all for me. I love Houston. They are my team.
If you're into trends.
And I know I think under 5% of people in ESPN are taking Houston. So that's my team. Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm upset that so many people are in Illinois, but I just think they're the best team, and you can't just because it's trendy doesn't mean it's not right. I mean, 35% of people are on Gonzaga, but for me, Illinois is the team, and I actually have Rutgers beating Houston.
Interesting. So that's funny because I have Loyola beating Illinois. He's got Rutgers beating Houston. So you're going to be screwed.
Imagine we're both right about that. That would suck.
Yeah, that would really be bad. But we'll see what happens. But that's what we got for you guys today. Extremely excited for March Madness. It starts, really starts tomorrow, Thursday, with the first 4. And then in the Discord, in the link below on YouTube, we will give you guys some more information on the games that we didn't give you guys due to the first 4 not being played yet. But with that said, that's all the analysis. You can get my entire Word document of 30 pages in the Discord and on Twitter as well. So if you need anything that I talked about, it's all in that analysis and plenty of more in the analysis as well. It took us an hour and 30 minutes to give you guys all the information, and we really appreciate you guys for sticking around and watching all of it and listening to what we have to say. We would truly appreciate it. But that's all for now. We'll be back in the Discord if you have any questions. You have all my leans. You have all my good stuff. And again, thank you guys. I'm with Josh from Winner Wire. I'm Jason Radowitz. And again, we appreciate you guys, and we will see you guys next time.
Take your assists.